Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking. I'm here with some more Tales from Behind the DM screen. No DM screen though, I misplaced it. I don't know where it is. But regardless, today I'm going to answer some questions.
Here's what I do. Here's what I Viking. Here's what I Viking. He thinks he's awesome.
Alright, so you may or may not know that, like, on social media, like Facebook groups and Reddit groups and things like that, there is a lot of role-playing game resources. And, I frequent those. I don't post much on them, but I like reading the threads and I like reading the discussions, and there's a lot of things in there that give me ideas or give me clues, or just, I don't know, in a way, like, you know, keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the role-playing game community. And I belong to ones that are focused on OSR revival type games. I belong to ones that are 5th edition type games. I mean, the broad spectrum. And one of the best ones that I'm a part of, the one that I, just as far as the enjoyment that I get out of reading them, and also just in one of the few places that I actually offer up my whatever insight, there is one called like GMs only, or, you know, like, basically it's supposedly for a place, and it's on Facebook, where a DM or a GM or a referee or judge or whatever can go and can say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this in my campaign. What do you think? And there's questions from all over the place. And sometimes I will post my comments. Sometimes you get there and somebody's posted, and because there's thousands upon thousands of people in that. And if you are a dungeon master or a game master or a referee or a judge or whatever, and you want to be on Facebook, I would strongly suggest being a part of it. It is something that if you have a question or a concern or whatever, hey, there goes Ivan. You can definitely post your comment, and it is a very, very welcoming, very, very good community. Like, there isn't a lot of people being, well, jerks, if you will. But a lot of times I'll see a question and I'll be like, oh, I have a perfect answer for that. But then I see that it has like 300 responses to the question already. So most likely the person's gotten the information they need. But sometimes I'll see those questions and I really want to share what I think. And so I decided what I'm going to do is, I'm like, occasionally, once I put together 3, 4, 5, 6 questions that I find, either in that group or on the Reddit groups I'm a part of or whatever, I'm going to read those questions to you here, and I'm going to tell you what I think. And this allows me to kind of put my old grumpy DM hat on, and we can go from there. So, alright, here's the first question that I selected here. It says, and I'm not going to say who posted these or anything like that, so just as you can see, you see here, it says, what programs, and this is obviously a mistype, what programs do you guys use to keep track of your campaign and the story? So this is a really simple one, and admittedly, I'm part of the technical age. I mean, I use a computer every single day. I've been using computers since I was like 15, 16 years old, but the thing that I use to keep track of my campaigns and the stories, and have forever, is something like this. It's a notebook. This one is actually a pretty good one. I think I picked this up at Michael's. It was on a clearance rack or something like that. And this one's cool because it has, you probably can't see, but it has graph paper on the inside, and it also has, here, if I can find it, like, it also has lined sides as well. And so when we play, I use this both to keep, like, my maps. Like, there's a lot of times that I'll be making a dungeon on the fly, and so I'll be writing it out on this, and I'll make notes, and I'll write the date, and I'll say what happened last session, because sometimes, because we are all dudes that have families, and will end up having to cancel out on certain dates and stuff like that. It can sometimes be over a month or so since the last time we played, and there's a lot of times when we'll get to the table and we'll say, what did we do last time? You know, and I know that there are several sites out there that will allow you to do that. However, I don't like using a digital site to keep track of things. Mostly because, one, I don't have a computer or anything at my table when I play, and I don't know, man. I guess there's a few things that I'm just analog about. That's just what I do, and I think there is something awesome about writing it out as well. No, some of the bonuses about having a site or like a place like World Anvil and things like that, which obviously thousands upon thousands or tens of thousands of users of those sites definitely are really enjoying those, is that like you can have people are able to log in, the players are able to log in and can check on those things and look on a really good friend of mine, Chris Strain, for his Star Wars campaign, he uses something, I forget what it's called, but he uses something that allows all the players to log in and like check in with anything, or if they want to check up on different NPC backgrounds and things like that. It's very useful for him. But for me, I just use a notebook, and that seems to work really well for me. And it always has. It has for 40 years. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, here we go. Next question I got was this one here that I pulled up. It says, so I was wondering, what are the worst and best magic items you have given players? Do you regret giving any items? Yeah. Okay, so some of the best are when there's a story behind the item in some way, or if it's a quest item. There was a campaign that I was a part of, actually, that as a player, that it wasn't me, it was another player, stumbled upon basically the magical blueprints, if you will, to create a magic staff that would give all these things. And so it became a side quest for that player to collect these certain things, troll blood and the stick or whatever, a staff made from a tree that only grows in this swamp. I don't remember everything, right? And I remember the last thing that he had to do or whatever, it had to be wrapped in a pound of his own flesh or something like that. It was kind of gruesome, but no, I mean, so he was eventually able to make that staff, which I thought was really cool. So I think things like that are really cool. And I remember I played some Earth Dawn campaigns, and this isn't really truly a good answer for this, because Earth Dawn campaigns just Earth Dawn kind of you would put experience and power into weapons that you found to give them magic and increase their magic, which was a kind of a cool thing. So you invested in your magic items in Earth Dawn. The other thing, I mean, there was a couple times when I gave players a weapon. I remember I had a magic sword that I ended up giving a player that was part of their birthright, if you will. So it actually extended out, it was like his grandfather's sword, and he was able to eventually take it from the evil tyrant that had it. So I think those are some of the best magic items when they actually become something that the character cares about, instead of just writing down longsword +1. Those are some of the best. Now, some of the worst I've ever done. I told a story in one of these episodes a while back where, I end up, I foolishly let somebody have a weapon that was way too powerful, for their level, and that was, that I had to concoct a very, elaborate plot to just basically get that weapon away from them, because it was unbalancing things, and so we did that. But probably the worst thing that I ever did was, I remember, and I was, this is I was 18 or 19, if I remember correctly. And I thought it would be super cool if I gave the players a deck of many things. So it would allow players to draw cards out of this deck. And I'm sure you're familiar with the deck of many things. You draw cards out of it, and like horrible things happen or good things happen, and it's just kind of like depending upon, right? And the actual thing is you use an actual deck of cards, and so like the Jack of Hearts is represented in the deck as, you know, whatever, and so on and so forth. Just Google it if you don't know what I'm talking about. What it turned into was like we had entire sessions of the players just using the deck of many things. Just, you know, and we didn't play D&D. It was and the thing was too, I was really happy when the players got cool things like, you know, like 1,000 gems or enough experience for your next level. I was really happy when players got that, but then I was like recalcitrant in giving like the bad things. Like there's things where like, you know, death shows up and you have to like and to kill the character, and if anybody tries to intervene, those people get death to show up and fight them as well. You know, there's like they're placed in a otherworldly prison and trapped forever, things like that. And I was like, oh, let's just not say we draw that card. Anyway, so I wasn't doing a good job of, one, giving the deck to people, two, like curtailing the actions, and three, like just allowing there to be a huge amount of like, you know, exponential power be given to players when they shouldn't have had it. And it ended up ruining the campaign. We ended up ditching the campaign. So, I mean, technically that was probably the worst one I ever did. I gave players a magic item that eventually caused the campaign to end, which, that's not good. That's not good at all. All right. Okay, so here we go on to the next question. These are a bit longer. Those are my two quick questions. Here we go. So, this one's going to make me kind of a little grumpy, I think, a little bit, but we'll get there. Okay, so this is with the new Tasha rules, and these are, this is the new Tasha book for 5e. It says players can give a +2 and a +1 attributes of their choosing, but I was wondering if there was any reason not to go a step further and simply allow 3 points to be used as they will. +1 to 3 attributes, +3 to 1 attribute. I can't think of any reason why this would be broken. Choosing to give a +3 attribute seems strong on paper, but also takes away from another stat. Thoughts? Now, first of all, I like that question. I like the fact that like this person's like saying, "Hey, why don't I just do this?" Right? And the fact that like and the uncertainty there is something I'm not a fan of. It's like, just do it. It's your game. You were able to just go ahead and you can do whatever you want. You could say give everybody +5 and pick which ones you want. Give everybody +6. Give everybody +1. So my answer to this is twofold. One, players care about, and admittedly when I play, I'm the same way, but players care about their attribute bonuses way too much. You have to remember that like you getting a +1 on something on a 20-sided die is just an extra 5% chance of it happening. And as players, we need to just say that's really not that big of a deal. If I need a 14 to hit that orc, and then because I get a +1, and now I need a 13, I mean, you're only going to succeed an extra 5% of the time. I'm probably doing the math wrong, but regardless, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Now the flip side of that is, as the dungeon master, it's also not that big of a deal. And on the flip side of things, as the dungeon master, like, you know, you just like, oh, okay, fine. You give the player the +1. You just say, go ahead, have it. I don't care. Take it. And then you just add 1 to all the armor classes of the things they fight. That's just all you do. I mean, and admittedly, yes, that sounds kind of like a screw job on the part of the DM. But I mean, part of the DM is you can give the players what they want within reason, and still maintain control over your campaign. And I'm a big believer in that. So I'm a big favor of this GM. Like when they sat down, just saying, you know what, guys, just take the +3 and apply it however you want. I don't care. Just do it. And or even saying, if somebody goes, what about, can we just have +4 or whatever? Just say, yeah, fine, go ahead. Just do it. And I mean, this goes into a longer discussion about, is it better to roll up characters or is it better to just assign attributes for characters? I mean, and so it's a longer story there. But I'm a big fan of players being excited to play the characters they have, and not being like feeling like, man, this character sucks, I don't want to play this character. You know, so turn that into a yeah, and make the characters happy to be sitting at the table. Do I think it's broken? No, I don't think it's broken at all, for the exact same reasons that I've already given. Remember, it's your game. It's your game. You know, there's definitely, and this is a session 0 thing as well. And remember, a session 0 doesn't have to be at the table when you're getting ready to play. A session 0 could be an email that's sent out to all your friends and say, hey, I'm going to play this type of game. This is how we're going to make characters. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And then people can say, oh, I'd love to play, but I don't really like how your character creation works. Could we try something different? And you can, rightfully so, you can say, yeah, this is what I want to try. So take or leave it, right? And you know, and you can, and then the nice thing about this day and age is that you probably have lots of friends. I mean, I shouldn't say that. You probably have, I should say, I didn't finish my statement. You probably have lots of friends that like to play D&D. There, I didn't say you probably have lots of friends. Oh, I probably shouldn't say that. No, this is what I meant. You probably have lots of friends that like to play D&D in this day and age. So if some of them are like, I don't really like the way you're going to do that campaign, I don't really like that, then you can say, all right, cool, you know, whatever. These other 4 people do dig it. And that's cool. You play your game the way you want to play your game. We're going to play my game the way I'm playing my game. So anyway, there you go. That's my answer to that one. All right, so moving on to the next one here. It says, here we go. So my weekly group has some attendance fluctuations due to work. Most of us are in the food and beverage department of the same casino, and things change at a moment's notice. What are some of the best ways you have used to explain a player's absence for a session? You can only use "they got lost" so many times. First of all, I think that's so cool that you play with that person plays with their coworkers. I mean, how cool is that? Like, you get to work and you can sit there and talk about the D&D session all the time. When I played D&D way back in the day, a bunch of my friends, we all worked at the same pizza place, and we would talk about our D&D sessions and like talking about getting ready for those all the time. I mean, now you can do it over text messages and things like that, but there's nothing beats like sitting around it, like having to get through the doldrums of a work day, and being able to just, you know, talk about, you know, the hobby that you love. But what's the best way to handle this? So we've done this lots of different ways. The easiest and you know, is just they're not there. For the longest time, we just said you're in the void, you know, and that was just it. It was just like, poof, like this person just isn't there. And then as soon as like that person shows up, if they show up late or if they show up at the next session, poof, they come out of the void and they're there. And I think that gets used a lot. And that's what we just called it. And like, you know, and all the jokes of like the character person died and like they had to make a new character, and like there was this rough shape, this blurry shape of a person slowly coming into focus around us as the person's rolling up their stats and stuff like that. So we had some fun with it. You know, for us, it didn't break the immersion. It didn't bother us. We thought it just worked. A lot of times now, people want to have more of an immersive thing. So for like a most recent session in Dungeon Crawl Classics, the cleric player couldn't make it one session, and one of the cleric players, I should say, and like basically we just said, oh well, you had to you got ascribed the weekly sermon at the temple, and you had to work within the temple. You couldn't go adventuring that week. You know, that was just and we just did that, and that works really well with any character that has some sort of guild or process. You know, mages were apprenticed to a high-level mage. Maybe that person came in from out of town, and so they spent some time with them. Maybe you know, the thief had, you know, the Thieves Guild was searching for him or something for some reason, so they had to lay low. All kinds of reasons like that you can just come up with. And the thing is that it doesn't really matter what the reason is that you're going to give for this. It's just, and like I said, you can just simply say you're not there. But it's one of those things where I'm not a big fan of somebody else running that person's character while they're not there. That's their character, that's their person, that's their story that they're creating. and we shouldn't allow them to have a story happen when the person that is in charge of that character isn't there. So don't do that. Don't let. I mean, that's just. I think that having them being like kind of the tag along character just doesn't work. Just come up with a story reason. Like I said, it's super easy. It's super easy to do. If you aren't doing a city based thing, or like there's nowhere near civilization, just say that like they're not feeling up to it. You know, they got a 24-hour bug. They're gonna stay at the camp and, you know, just lay low, and, you know, because they're not feeling well, and you know, they're just going to make sure the camp's okay, and they're going to take care of the mules and what have you, and have food ready when they get back, when you guys get back from the caves. You know, I mean, all kinds of things like that you can just have, and they work. So and like I said, if you can avoid the immersion break, just say they're not there and move on. All right, so that was that one. But again, once again, playing with your coworkers. That's so awesome. It's something that I'm a big fan of that. All right, so here we go. I think this is my fifth question. I was curious how other DMs feel about resurrection. As a story mechanism, I loathe it because it makes death feel cheap. But as a game mechanic, I understand why people want it. I'm always tempted to ban resurrection spells. So far, I've been allowing them in my 5th edition games. So how do you DMs feel about this mechanic, and do any of you have alternate rules for your use of rules? And do any of you have alternate rules you use for resurrection? Well, yes, we don't have it in our campaigns. Once you die, you die. But it wasn't always like that. I think, like, 2nd edition, we still used it sparingly. I think 3.5, and Pathfinder, when we played those, Resurrection just seemed to be easy to get. It was easier to process. When we did that, though, we would have people like lose points of con, or we would have them like randomly lose an attribute of some type, and we'd apply a loss. The biggest thing is, I think the biggest switch that we had was when we ditched a rule set, a published rule set for good. Like, we dabbled in having our own rules for a long time, and then about 10-15 years ago we finally ditched rule sets entirely, and we had our own system. We just didn't put a resurrection spell in the game, and so we just basically were like, yeah, you die, and try to keep that from happening. And there was a big switch that got turned in our group. It was one of those things where all dice rolls started happening in the middle of the table. So like when the Dungeon Master rolled, and it's like, oh, you got 1 hit point left, huh? And that orc has to roll a 16 or higher to hit you. You'd roll the die in front of everybody, and everybody would watch and see what happened, if the person was going to live or die. And if they died, they were like, that sucks. But they got out a character sheet and started rolling up and started making a new character. And it added a lot of gravity to the idea that, oh, well, we're going to go into this hole in the ground, and we're going to see what's in there, and we're going to try to kill what's in there and take their stuff. And the fact that going into that hole in the ground, we might never ever come out, and that's kind of like, for us, that's what a lot of what D&D is. Yes, we have big long stories and what have you that are like part of an epic journey that we go on, but definitely a huge part is grim and perilous, to use the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing tagline. We say there's a lot of times when like something bad happens to a player at the table, and then somebody will solemnly intone, grim and perilous, such is our lives, you know, something like that, and it just adds a lot. Now, that isn't for everybody, and I would strongly suggest, like, if you want people to be able to be raised from the dead, have it cost something more than just, you know, a bunch of diamonds or whatever they use now for whatever the system is. I think that having to owe one to the church is a great one. Like having situation where it's just like, yeah, we'll bring your fighter back from the dead, but there's going to come a time, there's going to come a reckoning when the church is going to need something from you, and you're going to have to do that, or else, you know, maybe they're just like, you know, that life essence we gave back to your fighter, yeah, we're just going to turn that off. You know, just like, you know, definitely like have something where it's like, you know, there's something to it, right? There's something that is longer arching that is going to. I played in a campaign once where I eventually, like, I didn't like the process. I didn't like the story. I remember I bowed out of the campaign. I just wasn't having any fun. I was going and playing every Saturday, and I wasn't digging it. It just wasn't a good time. And the thing that happened for me was I heard later that, like, it was a Pathfinder campaign, that, like, Resurrection was just like nothing. It was like literally like, he was like, yeah, my character, we were walking through the town and this Assassin's Guild showed up and this person hit me and did like 90 points of damage in one hit, and I was already like, you know, like, ugh, I'm glad I left. And then, like, you know, kill it, and it's like, oh, well, what'd you do? Oh, we just went and got myself a true res, and the next day we just moved on. I was like, yay. But I mean, they were having fun. So if that's your system, that's great. But like I said, if you're looking for something to be more poignant, like I said, just make it not so much like a money suck to get somebody raised from the dead. Make there be something to it. A long time ago, Necromancer Games published a book that had like 6 mini adventures that were all about raising somebody from the dead. That was the whole goal of the mini adventure. I can't remember the name of the module right now, but it was all about bringing somebody back from the dead. That's another great idea. You know, just have it. You want to bring this person back from the dead, then have it be a quest to do so. You do run a little bit into a problem there where the player that died, you know, what do they do? I think in some of those things, like, the person was able to be a ghost or something like that, and they were able to partake in those adventures, if I remember correctly. I gotta dig that out. You know, do something like that. I mean, have it be the focus. I mean, you know, just don't make it so it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna head down to the old cleric shop and get old Lefty here brought back from the dead. He's starting to smell, so, you know, you're gonna just not my. Or, you know what? Just don't let people get raised from the dead. Make combat matter. That's something that I'm feel very strongly about. Make combat deadly. Then people won't be more likely to, like, say, let's talk to the hobgoblins, see what they want, and not so much like, ah, you know, and charge in. But anyway, all right. So here's my last one. I'll admit I saved this one for last because, well, let's just go in. I have a player who has cross-classed the Warlock with a Rogue. This is obviously 5th edition. He realizes he made a mistake as he can't use sneak attack with EB, which is Eldritch Blast, which, you know, go on any forum, people discussing Eldritch Blast being way too overpowered, blah, 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 whatever. We're discussing now how he can use his sneak attack. I offered up once his Genie Patron is freed, he can switch the subclass to Hexblade, which by rules as written would be, that's what Roz, would be a much better synergy. However, he is still partial to the idea of Eldritch Blast dealing a sneak attack. I'm considering giving him a custom bow that allows him to cast Eldritch Blast through it, but require an attunement slot. This way he can get a sneak attack. Do you guys think this is too strong? Should there be drawbacks? Oh my gosh. I mean, again, this is what they play and this is what they enjoy. So who am I to come and piss in their Cheerios? But good heavens. This is one of those situations where, in my opinion, that player, like, either by looking at forums or just like reading through all these little splat books, all these information, is just saying, how can I do 11 billion points of damage in one round? Oh, I want the ability to be a rogue, and I want to be able to cast Eldritch Blast, and I want to use sneak attack damage. Oh my heavens. No. This is why one of my videos that I did way back in the day, one of these earlier videos, and I said the most important word you can learn as a dungeon master is no, is that And I got a lot of bad feedback on that one, which is fine. Whatever. You play the game you want to play. I play the game, like I said. Anytime anybody says, no, you're playing the game wrong, you know what? I've been DMing the same group of people, a number of, which is 10 to 12 different people at any given time for 40 years. And they keep coming back to this table, and they keep coming back, and they're enjoying it. Is the way I play D&D the way a lot of people are going to enjoy it? I don't know. But the way my friends and family members who play D&D with me love the way that I do it. So that's what matters. So that's being said, if you play a certain way and your people love it, then that's perfect as well. But what I'm saying to you is that if this player comes up to you and says, I want to do this perfect little combination of all this crap so I can do a ton of damage in combat, you have two choices. You can either just say no. You don't say, maybe I can give you a bow that this will work for you. Maybe I can do this to give this for you. No, just say, look, if you want to be a rogue warlock, that's cool. But you just don't get to do sneak attack. You don't get to do an extra points of damage with this Eldritch Blast, combo. If a wizard cast a fireball but also had a level 1 rogue, did you think the fireball was going to do sneak attack damage? No. A sneak attack is walking up to somebody and jabbing your sword in their back when they don't know you're there. Or, and I've always hated the whole, I get flanked, I'm flanking, do I get my sneak attack? I always hated that. But, regardless, it's just one of those things where that's fine. It's been kind of incorporated now. But again, it's just it doesn't work like that. Magic missiles don't get sneak attack damage. Just... No. You tell that player, look, I see what you want. I see what you want to do. It just doesn't work, right? Can't you just be happy with what you have? Can't you just, and I understand that we live in an age, whatever, we want people to have the stuff that they want, right? We want them to be happy. And kudos to this GM for trying to work out a way for this person to get what they want. But at some point you just have to say, no, this isn't going to work, right? Let's come up with something that you're going to like just as much, but isn't going to be this. And honestly, as the player dungeon master symbiosis there is these two people working together and compromising to find something that everybody's going to enjoy. And that's a big word. A compromise is somewhere in the middle. It isn't like saying, what does this player want, and they should get everything they want, and just give that to them. Now, I know I said earlier in this video, it's just give the player, if they want a +1, just give them +1, right? And you can adjust the game, to accordingly. But this doesn't work when you're dealing with combat and dealing with one player doing scads of damage. Now, if every single one of the players in that person's campaign was working out some way to be able to do 80, 90, 100 points of damage or whatever, and working a way to be superpowered, then fine, give them that, and then just give everything 50 more hit points when you're fighting it. And just, everything's balanced, everything's fine, you can just move on with your lives. But here's the deal. Every once in a while, you're going to have one player that is going to find some way to just do tons of damage. And when that happens, you are going to run into problems where your combats will either be too difficult for everybody else, or it'll be too easy for that one character, and they'll just mob everything up. I made a character in a Pathfinder campaign, a fighter with power attack, that did way too much damage. And me and the player, the DM, Andy, we worked together to just basically say, look, this build this guy has is just, it's too dense, it's too powerful. For the good of the campaign, let's go ahead and decrease his power. Let's go ahead and redo some of his feats, change him up, so just to make it easier for him, and then make it easier on the other players in the campaign. And yeah, I was a little like, I don't have my murderous death machine of a fighter anymore. But over, after I went through a session or two of Growing Pains, I saw that the entire campaign was better off for me taking that reduction of power, and it made everybody have a lot more fun. So All right, so there we go. That was questions and answers. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed my take on those questions. If you have your own thoughts on answers to those questions, I'd love to hear those as well. You can put those in the comments. Obviously, this is the time where I ask you to hit the old like button. I hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. The big thing here is that if you have questions, if you have a question about D&D or D&D rules or anything that I've done as far as like the different game systems I've run or what I think of this, that, or the other thing, or if you have a question about your campaign and you're like, what would Lance do in this situation? Just go ahead and post those in the comments, and then perhaps next time I do these question and answers, and I'll still scour the Facebook groups and Reddit subgroups or whatever for these as well. But I'll take your questions that you ask, and any question, go ahead and ask, and I will make sure it's part of the next question and answer. And so then you can get my take on the thing that you got going on. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video and listen to me ramble as I do. Until next time, I'm the Untitled Viking, Lance Mikester, and I'm wishing you to have a fabulous weekend and just have a heck of an awesome day today. All right, bye-bye.